Imagine waking up one morning and realizing that the place you've called home your entire life no longer feels like the place where your future belongs. That's exactly what happened to Ethan. For 32 years, Ethan had lived in Ohio. He grew up in a quiet neighborhood outside Columbus. He attended local schools, played football on chilly autumn evenings, and spent countless winters shoveling snow from his driveway before work. Ohio was comfortable, predictable, safe. But somewhere deep inside, Ethan felt restless. Every year seemed to look exactly like the one before. Winter arrived, snow piled up, spring came, summer passed, football season returned, then winter again. The cycle never seemed to end. One evening, after another long day at work, Ethan sat on his couch scrolling through social media. Video after video showed people moving to Texas. They talked about booming job markets, bigger houses, no state income tax, year-round sunshine, new opportunities. At first, Ethan laughed. Texas, he thought, that's a place for cowboys. But the idea stayed in his mind. Weeks turned into months. The more he researched, the more curious he became. Eventually, curiosity turned into obsession, and one day he decided to see Texas for himself. He booked a flight to Dallas. The moment he stepped out of the airport, he noticed something different. Everything felt bigger. The highways, the buildings, the trucks, even the sky somehow looked larger. The city buzzed with energy. Construction cranes filled the skyline. New apartments were rising everywhere. Businesses seemed to be opening on every corner. People talked about growth, expansion, opportunity, words Ethan rarely heard back home. For the next week, he explored. He visited Dallas, Fort Worth, Austin, Houston. Each city had its own personality. Dallas felt ambitious. Austin felt creative. Houston felt international. Fort Worth felt proudly Texan. By the end of the trip, Ethan couldn't stop thinking about one question. What if I moved here? Back in Ohio, life suddenly felt different. The roads looked quieter. The neighborhoods looked older. The pace felt slower. Things he had never noticed before suddenly stood out. Friends talked about surviving another winter. Ethan found himself dreaming about sunshine. Coworkers discussed small annual raises. Ethan remembered the ambitious entrepreneurs he had met in Texas. For months, he wrestled with the decision: leave everything he knew or stay comfortable forever. Finally, after countless sleepless nights, he made his choice. He was moving to Texas. His family thought he was crazy. His mother nearly cried. His father shook his head. People spend their whole lives trying to build stability, his father said, and you're throwing it away. Friends questioned him. Some were supportive. Others secretly thought he'd return within a year. But Ethan had made up his mind. He packed his belongings into a moving truck, said goodbye to Ohio, and began the 1,000-mile journey south. The first few months in Texas felt incredible. The weather alone felt life-changing. While friends in Ohio posted photos of snow-covered cars, Ethan sat outside wearing a t-shirt in January. No scraping ice from windshields, no dangerous winter roads, no freezing mornings. It felt like freedom. Then came the job market. Within weeks, he received multiple interviews. Companies were hiring aggressively. Businesses were expanding. The economy seemed alive. Soon, he landed a position paying significantly more than his Ohio salary. For the first time in years, Ethan felt excited about his future. He bought a newer car, rented a modern apartment, started exploring everything Texas had to offer. Life seemed perfect. Then summer arrived, and Texas introduced itself. One morning, Ethan stepped outside and immediately felt like he had opened an oven door. The temperature was over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. The air felt heavy. The sunlight seemed relentless. Even walking from his apartment to his car became uncomfortable. By July, temperatures remained above 100 for days, sometimes weeks. The excitement of warm weather began fading. Air conditioning became less of a luxury and more of a survival tool. His electricity bill exploded. Everywhere he went, people joked about the heat. But Ethan wasn't laughing. For the first time, he missed Ohio. Not the snow, but the balance, the seasons, the ability to enjoy being outdoors during summer afternoons. In Texas, many people simply stayed inside. Still, Ethan adapted. Humans always do. By his second summer, he understood the rhythm: early mornings, late evenings, indoor activities during the hottest hours. Life became easier, and he discovered something surprising. The heat was challenging, but it was predictable, unlike Ohio winters. No blizzards, no black ice, no snowstorms trapping him at home, just heat. Lots and lots of heat. As years passed, Ethan experienced another major difference between Ohio and Texas: growth. Texas wasn't standing still. Every year brought new businesses, new neighborhoods, new restaurants, new opportunities. The population seemed to grow constantly. Friends who visited from Ohio couldn't believe how much had changed since their last trip. Entire communities appeared where empty land had existed months earlier. The state felt ambitious, like it was building the future in real time. Ohio felt different. Not worse, just different. Many Ohio cities felt mature, established, stable. Texas felt hungry, always expanding, always reaching for something bigger.
But growth came with consequences. Traffic. Lots of traffic. In Ohio, Ethan's commute had been 20 minutes. In Texas, 45 minutes became normal, sometimes an hour. Accidents could turn a routine drive into an exhausting ordeal. The endless highways that once impressed him now occasionally felt overwhelming. He began understanding why some people preferred Ohio's smaller cities. Life there simply felt easier, less crowded, less rushed. One Christmas, Ethan returned to Ohio for the holidays. As his plane descended toward Columbus, memories flooded back. The neighborhoods looked familiar. The streets felt comforting. Everything seemed unchanged. For a few days, he slipped back into his old life. Family dinners, high school friends, favorite local restaurants. The slower pace felt refreshing. And yet, something unexpected happened. By the end of the trip, he felt ready to leave again. Ohio would always be home, but Texas had become his future. Years passed. Ethan advanced in his career. He met new friends. Eventually, he met someone special, a Texas native named Sarah. She had never lived anywhere else. When Ethan told stories about Ohio winters, she listened in disbelief. Snow days sounded magical to her. Meanwhile, Ethan laughed at memories of scraping ice off cars at 6 a.m. Together, they explored the state, the rolling hills of Central Texas, the beaches along the Gulf Coast, the vast landscapes of West Texas, the vibrant cities, the small towns, the endless roads stretching toward distant horizons. Texas began feeling less like a destination and more like home. One evening, while sitting on a porch watching a Texas sunset, Sarah asked him a question. "Do you ever regret leaving Ohio?" Ethan thought carefully. It was a harder question than expected, because Ohio had given him everything: his childhood, his family, his education, his early career, the foundations of his life. Without Ohio, he wouldn't be who he was, but staying there forever might have prevented him from becoming who he could be. Finally, he answered, "No." Then he smiled. "But I miss parts of it." Sarah nodded. That made sense. Sometimes the best decisions aren't about choosing a perfect place. They're about choosing the place that matches the life you want. Meanwhile, Ohio continued offering its own advantages. Whenever Ethan visited, he noticed things Texans often overlooked: beautiful autumn colors, affordable communities, friendly neighborhoods, less traffic, excellent schools, strong healthcare systems, a genuine sense of stability. For many people, those qualities mattered more than rapid growth, and there was nothing wrong with that. In fact, Ethan sometimes admired it. Not everyone wants constant change. Some people value consistency, community, tradition. Ohio excelled at those things. As he approached 40 years old, Ethan finally understood the real difference between Ohio and Texas. It wasn't weather, it wasn't taxes, it wasn't housing prices, it wasn't politics. The biggest difference was mindset. Ohio felt like a place where people build stable lives. Texas felt like a place where people chase bigger opportunities. Neither approach was right or wrong. They simply attracted different personalities. Some people thrive in stability, others thrive in growth. The challenge is figuring out which one you are. Ethan finally understood something that had taken years to learn. The debate between Ohio and Texas isn't really about states. It's about dreams. Comfort versus growth, familiarity versus adventure, security versus possibility. Every person must choose which matters more. And the answer is different for everyone. Today, millions of Americans face similar choices. Some leave hometowns searching for opportunity. Others stay close to family and community. Some move to fast-growing places like Texas. Others choose affordable, stable states like Ohio. Neither path guarantees happiness. Neither path guarantees success. But every path teaches something valuable. If Ethan could go back and talk to his younger self sitting on that Ohio couch years ago, he would say this: don't be afraid of change, but don't chase it blindly either. Understand why you're moving. Understand what you're leaving behind. And remember that no place is perfect. Every state has strengths, every state has weaknesses. The goal isn't finding perfection. The goal is finding the place where your future has room to grow. And that is the real story of Ohio versus Texas. Not a battle between two states, but a journey of discovering where you belong. Because sometimes the biggest move you'll ever make isn't across a state line. It's across the boundary between the life you're living today and the life you've always imagined. The end.
It's not the end. You should remember. Because sometimes the biggest move you'll ever make isn't across a state line. It's across the boundary between the life you're living today and the life you've always imagined. Thank you for watching. Please take care of your loved ones. And don't forget to like and subscribe my channel for future videos like this. I hope you like it. Bye-bye.